responding to these messages right here.
Hello and welcome to DMs with PM. I am your host, Oslin Crosby, and my co-host,
Norris Francois.
All right. Thank you so much for being here with us today. It is the start of something exciting, something direct, and something where you will have an opportunity to share so much, yes, with the Prime Minister. So this is a dynamic, interactive platform where we feature Prime Minister, the Honorable Dickon Mitchell, who will be fielding questions, your concerns, and your suggested solutions, yeah? It gives our citizenry an opportunity for you to interact with our policymakers, with government, giving you an opportunity to ask the many. I know you have questions that's burning, it's itching you to ask, and you say, okay, outside of the town hall meetings, where can I meet with our ministers or prime ministers so that we can ask the questions? This is the ideal program for you. So you can send in your questions, you can WhatsApp them, or you can call us directly here on the program when it's featured every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. on all of our major platforms. So our radio stations, GBN, our Mikey Live, Ride Along, the Prime Minister's Facebook page is also featuring the program, GIS, Party Grenada. In addition to that, some of our other radio stations, We FM, Power FM, Star FM, Top FM. And we want to say thank you to all our media entities that are facilitating this broadcast. To the people in the diaspora, you are welcome. We know that you're always very much involved in the process, and we are so grateful to have you, as we know you will be following and you would want to share your questions. Please don't feel left out. We want you to be involved and be a part of the program. Norris, tell me, what are you looking forward to with this very interactive and what I consider to be exciting program?
Well, it will be great, I think. You will give the citizens of Grenada the platform so that they can directly communicate with the Prime Minister with whatever question, whatever they want to ask him. You know, don't be polite, be respectful, you know, with your questions, and they will get some answers right here.
Oh, certainly. I also want to encourage, you know, normally we think that platforms like these are basically targeting our young people, and that's not the case. Yeah?
It's for everybody.
It is for
It's
everyone.
for everybody.
It is for
Whether
everyone.
you're old, you're young, well, not old, but in age, it's for everybody.
Well, our parents and grandparents now are getting onto social media. You know, when our parents sit down now to go on social media, they forget their pots and the fire. So they will have an opportunity now to speak to the Prime Minister. Yes. They are getting the hang of social media, which is great. Because I think it's important that they catch on. But most so, I think social media and these various platforms give us access to information. And as this government continue to push that of the creative industry and also that of sharing more information and using the platforms that are available, I think this is an excellent opportunity for this to happen.
Yes, it is. It is indeed an exciting, interactive opportunity for everyone in Grenada.
Oh yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. So what we will do, we want to take a quick break. When we come back, we will introduce the star of the program, Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell, who is in studio with us. So we get to introduce, chit-chat a bit with him, get into some of government's policy programs, some of the things that government have planned for Grenada, and also what you can look forward to when, how it would happen, and also how you can benefit, but most of how you can contribute. So we'll be back in just a moment. When we come back, we speak directly to Prime Minister Mitchell.
Want to win more with the NLA? Play Daily Cash 4, Daily Pick 3, and Playway with multi-X added. Mid-morning, midday, mid-afternoon, and evenings. 4 times per day. Mid-morning draws close at 9:45, 12:45 for midday draws, 4:45 for mid-afternoon draws, and 7:45 for evening draws. Monday to Saturday. You can never go wrong with the NLA. Games for every day. Monday to Sunday. Instant, jackpot, and daily games. Mid-morning, midday, mid-afternoon, and evening draws. Available at all sales locations and online at nla.gd. Must be 18 or over to play. NLA, giving you more opportunities to play and win daily.
Hi, I want $10 on Playway, $20 backup on Pick 3, and cash for each, please.
Okay, are you adding multi-X to your bet?
Yes, multi-X, all of them.
Smart! Best value bet. Backup and multi-X, you cannot go wrong.
Don't matter the bet, multi-X all of the daily games.
With Multi-X added, your winnings can be multiplied 3 times, 5 times, even 7 times. So make it a rule. Add Multi-X to all your Playway, Daily Pick 3 and Daily Cash 4 bets every day and for every drop, and watch your money grow. Available at stores and online.
You heard it here. Multiply your winnings daily. Must be 18 or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are just joining us, please encourage others to share the live. Come on, get involved in the program. Remember, you can WhatsApp your questions, your concerns to telephones number 423-3104. And as promised, Prime Minister Mitchell, thank you so much. Good day, and thank you for being here with us. Welcome to DMs with the PM.
Well, thank you for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Just like you, I'm excited about this program. It's an opportunity to engage directly with the citizens of Grenada, unfiltered.
Yes.
But as Norris said, respectful, polite. And we should aim to have a little fun as well. We can't take ourselves too seriously. It's hard work building a nation, but at the same time, we should enjoy it and we should have fun and have fun with each other. So I look forward to this program. I look forward to the citizens getting the chance to converse directly with me and other ministers. So from time to time, it's not just going to be me, it's going to be my colleagues as well, and maybe you never know. Perhaps we might flip the script and I might get the chance to interview you and Norris and some of our other co-hosts when the time comes. So
All
thank
right.
you.
Well, that one would be interesting. That would be very interesting. All right. Prime Minister, we get to start this program when we just celebrated, or rather honored, our mothers. And I think you now have a direct opportunity to extend that belated greetings.
No, certainly. I think for all mothers, it's while we mark the day. I mean, motherhood is
Every day.
every day. And so we have to always take the opportunity to say how appreciative, how grateful we are to our mothers or grandmothers or sisters, because ultimately they are the rock upon which the nation or any nation is built. So I hope the fathers, the brothers, the uncles took the opportunity to say Happy Mother's Day, to appreciate the mothers. And sometimes a simple Happy Mother's Day, it's all that is necessary. And more importantly, throughout the year, to make sure that we honor, respect, support and encourage the love for our mothers, because without them, none of us would be here. So Happy Mother's Week, Happy Mother's Month, Happy Mother's Year, Happy Mother's Decade, Happy Mother's Century.
Okay, so I'm going to take my greetings. Thank you very much, Prime Minister.
You're welcome. Sorry, Norris.
Prime Minister, with your busy schedule that you have during the week, during the year, how do you do it?
Well, I think first you have to enjoy it. That's the first thing. If you are going to do public service, you have to actually want to do it. You have to have a passion for it, and you have the right intentions. And I think that is critical. The motivation comes from being able to help someone, being able to guide someone, being able to listen to someone. I met with someone today, and I started off by saying, "What do you want?" And then tell me how we can get there. And the person said, "Perhaps I just want a listening ear." So sometimes the job is not always about fixing a problem or solving a problem, or doing something or giving somebody something, but sometimes it's just a simple task of listening to someone who may feel that perhaps the only person who could listen to them is the Prime Minister or Minister. So I do it by remaining focused on why we're doing it, because the why is important, making sure we have the passion for it, and making sure that we have a love for interacting with people, because ultimately that's what the nation is. There's no country called Grenada if there are no Grenadians. It will just be a barren island. So I think once we bear that in mind, we're good. The other thing, of course, though, is you still have to be strategic. You have to plan. You have to try and sleep. When you get the opportunity to do so, you have to try and rest. And then you have to relax when you can. And the relaxation could take many forms. Sometimes simply interacting with the public, going on a community walkabout, knocking doors, speaking to people. That's a form of relaxation. Getting time to read, if you can, going on the beach. It's not always, often that you get the chance to do it, but those are ways in which you can get to mix it up a little bit, as the young people would say. You have to be able to mix it up, to be able to make sure that you can keep going.
Okay.
All right. A dynamic leader, different, we must say, no longer conventional and traditional. Many people had concerns when you started, I'm sure when you went to your first heads of government meeting, the security might have passed. It's like, okay, no, this is not the Prime Minister, right? But you are our Prime Minister. How has it been? We're moving on to 3 years. June is coming.
So I'll give you a joke about this. I went to Trinidad at the Agri Expo in the Savannah. So it was all Caribbean leaders. We had a nice indoor session. I was dressed in perhaps non-traditional Prime Minister wear. I knew we were going to go out in the Savannah. It was going to be hot. So I didn't wear suit or tie. I just wear a regular shirt, roll my sleeves up. When we got to the Savannah, Prime Minister Rowley was standing. Prime Minister Motley and President Ali was standing behind him. So I made a beeline to go around Prime Minister Rowley to go speak to Prime Minister Motley and President Ali. And Prime Minister Rowley's security detail assumed I was one of the crowd and placed his hand against me, almost ready to pick me up and lift me and throw me out of the Savannah.
Okay.
So I froze because obviously it's Trinidad, it's not Grenada. And someone had to gently poke him and said, "That's the Prime Minister of Grenada." And he was obviously very apologetic, but I found it funny because I think it perhaps was, in a sense, perhaps a distinguishing feature between my appearance, the way I carry myself, and perhaps what one may normally expect of a Prime Minister. But I thought it was quite a funny moment. I think the poor security officer felt a little embarrassed, and we might have had a diplomatic incident. And that was coming just after the
election.
Anderson
Peters
incident.
matter.
So we didn't want a second
Oh.
regional diplomatic incident. So I stayed calm
Okay.
so that we wouldn't have any trouble. But I think for me, the office of Prime Minister is an office.
Yes.
And Deacon Mitchell is a person, a human being. So I have my own personality. And I don't think you need to change your personality simply to suit an office. Of course, there are conventions about decorum and protocol and polite, and my job is not to make other people's lives difficult, but as much as possible to facilitate that. But ultimately, you have to remain yourself. You have to remain true to you. And I think people would prefer an authentic Prime Minister that's true to himself rather than someone who's merely trying to conform to whatever notions of protocol or so that we may think needs to exist. So for me, I'm happy being, if you think it's unconventional, I'm happy being unconventional, but it means I'm being myself.
Yes, and I think that the authenticity in it is what appeals to people. I think it is what people receive best, and it also, because what you recognize, you get it's a natural response, natural aura that people can read. Energies could never lie, and if it is authentic, then it works best for everybody. So, and that is why this program is ideal. It works well for everybody because now you get an opportunity to laugh, you get an opportunity to be serious, speak of government's policies, and in the meantime, be yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
Be yourself. All right. So what we're going to do now, we will take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get a bit into the most serious part of the conversation, trying to map out government's plans, programs, and that is based on Vision 75. From there, we'll get into the substantive matter, which is where we get into the DMs, the actual DMs. There's some where we have that's recorded from the street. We have some that you would have sent via social media, and there are also the ones that where you would call in. So we wanted to take advantage of all of it and let us know what you're thinking, your suggestions, your concerns. That's why we are here. So we'll be back shortly.
Oh, it happens to all of us. Low on cash and in need of money right away. Play Instacash Monday to Sunday and there are no draws.
So, what you saying? No numbers to choose from?
Nope.
And no draw sessions to wait on?
Nope.
And we can play it anytime and any day?
Yep. Including Sundays. Instacash. Ask for it by name and choose from a wide variety of games as low as $2 and win instantly. It is fast, it is easy to play, and you win cash right away. Must be 18 years or older to play. NLA, making your dreams come true.
In Grenada, sports aren't just a game, they're a way of life. They teach discipline, teamwork, and resilience. They inspire the next generation to push boundaries and chase excellence. That's why the Investment Migration Agency of Grenada is proud to support sports initiatives as part of our commitment to youth and national development. When we invest in sports programs, we invest in the future. We invest in the health and well-being of our youth, and we invest invest in broadening Grenada's reach, proudly connecting our athletes, our talent, and our nation to a global community. Together, we all go further. The Investment Migration Agency, unlocking the possibilities.
Welcome back to DM with a PM. It is our first program, and if you missed the other two segments, you just missed the small talking and introducing this program, what it's about. Me and my co-host, who is Norris Francois. Norris, we know more on the stage of the music, but now he's sharing more information. So he's here in a different capacity, but the intention here is that we can share more information with you. You have a direct line to the Prime Minister and to government ministers. We want to remind you that it would not only be the Prime Minister. From time to time, you'll hear the policymakers and the ministries and who will be here to share also, so you have a direct line to our policymakers. Prime Minister, as I said before we went on the break, let's get into the more serious part of the conversation. We chit-chat initially, we got the jokes, but now let's speak to government's plans. This program is meant to share information. Lots of information, the information that you may not just hear in an ad, but more so where we get to break it down for you. Vision 75, it speaks a lot to government's long-term programs and goals, plans for Grenada. Let's just break it down a little bit, just to remind people of what it's about.
Thank you for giving me that opportunity. I want to say first, the Vision 75 is not just government's plans or goals for Grenada. It's in response to a simple question. What do we want Grenada to look like 25 years from our 50th anniversary of independence? And hence Vision 75. So what was presented at our 50th anniversary of independence was essentially a collection of ideas taken from the people of Grenada, taken from the National Sustainable Development Plan, and simplified in a one-hour presentation on some fundamental areas that we want the public to engage in and on and to contribute to and then to implement, so that 25 years from now we know with a fair degree of certainty what Grenada would look like. And it covers about 5 main areas. Healthcare. And while I'm on healthcare, I will take the opportunity to say that there will be a big announcement tomorrow at 10 a.m. At the Radisson about healthcare. I don't want to steal the thunder of the Minister for Health, so I will say no more about that. But I certainly think the public can look forward to that announcement, and it will fit neatly into Vision 75, because that announcement is going to cover a 15-year period. And so that's, I think, one of the critical things. Vision 75 is ensuring that as a nation we appreciate that we have to plan short-term, medium-term, and long-term. So it covers healthcare, it covers agriculture and food security. A healthy nation requires food security, it requires good food, and this is critical. The two go hand in hand. It covers education. What kind of education system will give us the type of citizen that we want to produce 25 years from now? So do we want all our citizens to be able to be bilingual? Do we want citizens that have a strong background in math, problem solving, critical thinking, soft skills, vocational skills? So that's critical. So the education system is critical to the type of citizen we are going to produce. Do we want proud Grenadians? Do we want Grenadians who understand the history, who understand the challenges that we've gone through, who understand that we should not take the fact that as small as we are an independent nation, one of only about 172 plus in the world, in a world of 5, 6, 7 billion people. Yeah. That includes our culture, what makes us who we are. So, energy, because ultimately nothing moves without energy. Our economy is unable to function without energy. We can't produce the food that we need without energy. We can't get the water that we need without energy. And in a technologically driven world, energy consumption is significant because the things that we send the DMs through require energy. They require pouring. And so we have to ensure that we have reliable, as cheap as possible energy, and we also have to have energy security. So Vision 75 is about how all of these things are interconnected towards making Grenada the type of place that we want it to be 25 years from now. And why 25 years? It may seem like a long time, but it's not. right? Grenada is 50 years as an independent country. I'm not yet 50, but the question is, have we planned the last 50 years sufficiently enough to make Grenada what it is? And if we haven't, then we need to make sure that we use the opportunity now to plan the next 25, so that the people who live through that 25-year period will also plan the following 25, so that by the time you get to 100 years, there is greater predictability as to the kind of society that we're producing. And we want everyone to be involved, right? And ultimately, this is not just about the government. This is about us, we, the people. And we have to make that determination. We have to debate the vision. We have to agree on the vision, and then we have to be able to implement it. And this has to be cutting across political lines, religious lines, ethnic lines, social class lines. Because if we don't do that, we will not be able to achieve some of what is laid out in the vision.
How does food security fit under Vision 75?
Well, it's simple. If you can't feed yourself, and if you don't know where your food is coming 1 week from today or 14 days from today, you will perish. You know, we had a very startling example of this during COVID-19. And we will face startling examples of this every time we get hit by a hurricane. Because from basic things like water supply, medicines, basic food, you are going to run short of it very quickly if we do not have a detailed plan in place to make sure that we think through our food security. So it means, one, the notion that you can be a small island with relatively enough fertile volcanic land and don't grow your food, or as much as you can, is a notion that is bound to make you fail. So we have to reverse this notion that agriculture is not important, that food security is not important, that agro-processing is not important. It's not just about whether it's profitable or not. You see, if it's just about whether it's profitable, you will buy food because the big companies that produce food will tell you they can sell you the food cheaper than you can produce it. The problem is, when there's a shock like COVID-19, when there's wars, when there are hurricanes, when there are geopolitical tensions, they're not going to sell you the food. They're going to keep the food for themselves and for the people first. So they would have put you in a state of complete dependency, that is food insecurity. So we have to appreciate that food is not just about whether it's profitable or not to grow. It's about ensuring that you have it to feed yourself. And that's basically the fundamental basis of any country that has to survive. We are not saying you will produce every single type of food, but you must be able to produce and grow sufficient food so that you could withstand the threats that may be posed by being completely dependent on others to supply your food. And even very big countries understand that. That's why they store their food, they store their grain, they can tell you how much supply of wheat or pasta or meats they have in the event something went wrong. And let us not take this for granted. Cuba, for example, has had a 6-day embargo imposed on it. If it could not grow its own food, they would die. It's as simple as that. So food security is critical, and not just for Vision 75, but frankly for the sustainability of Grenada as a nation state.
Yes, that is so true. Prime Minister, we would not go further with this conversation because we will be able to speak on all the pillars of Vision 75, and we would not get to the DMs. But what we are going to do now, we're going to take a quick break, but I want to prep our viewers and listeners. Just when we come back from that break, then we will be getting to the DMs from the street, the DMs that you would have sent on social media, and also you have the opportunity to call in. Note the number 423-3104. Please remember the number 423-3104. You can WhatsApp or you can call. So we're going to take a quick break now. When we come back, we get in our DMs from the street.
What if you had a choice? A choice of joining a line or a choice of making your purchases online? What would you choose? While you ponder on that, the National Lotteries Authority has provided another purchasing option. All their games are now available online. Yes, Grenadians. From wherever you are, purchase your favorite daily and jackpot type games using any electronic device. Register on the NLA's website at www.nla.gd. Top up your account and enjoy online lottery gaming at your convenience. We're taking shopping comfort up, up, up several notches. But the choice is yours. Join a line or buy online. NLA, make your dreams come true.
Welcome to the Cinnamon Model, one of the many stunning designs in Project 500. The home offers 944 square feet of living space, not including the veranda. It includes 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a dedicated laundry storage area, all centered around an open kitchen, living, and dining space for everyday comfort. In the current view, it work at 70% completion, having rough plumbing already in place, electrical, interior walls, and ceiling finishes to be installed soon.
Welcome back to DMs with PM. Norris, I now go over to you for you to introduce our DMs on the street.
So I told you, it will be very interactive today. And today we have some DMs from the streets. And we are hoping that the Prime Minister will answer. All right, so we will take the first one.
Hello, my name is Bradley Menendez. I'm a current building technology student at the TMR Show Community College. And I would just like to know what are the future plans for TAMCC, like recruitments and for now, current, and for future. If we're thinking about building new buildings, I don't know, something different, something to improve the life here in TAMCC.
Well, that's a pretty hard question. So, well, let me say first, I could perhaps start with the location of TAMCC because, you know, it's literally located on a water table. Yeah. And I think we experienced firsthand, including my son, who was there, the flooding that took place. So we recognize that's a challenge. If we are going to keep the location, it would mean having the necessary maintenance systems in place to pump the water out as quickly as possible when it comes through the channels. But I think to the bigger point that the student is making, TAMCC has to become a center of excellence, because ultimately the leaders of Grenada will come through the TMR Community College, and it therefore means that the board and the principal of TAMCC and the Ministry of Education needs to ensure that from a visioning point of view, because I talked about the same Vision 75 and our education system, that TAMCC becomes a premier learning institution that more accurately reflects the needs of Grenada, but more crucially ensures that our students who come out of TAMCC become problem solvers and the next generation of leaders of Grenada. So I will talk about some of the things that I would expect must change at TAMCC. And it may seem simple, but it's critical. TAMCC must have a space for the students to be able to interact and learn interactively. Yeah. Not a library where you sit in a cubicle and you can't talk. And this may sound strange, but almost any higher education institute must have a place for collaborative education exchange. That's how you discover things. That's how you test the theories of people. That's how you test the experiments. That's how you actually learn and grow. So a simple change like that will make a significant difference. 2, and I've raised this with the principal, and I think it's something we need to be able to address. If the criteria for entering TAMCC remains CXC passes, we're failing our students. Because CXC exams is simply a moment in time. Yeah. If you send kids to high school for 6, 7, 8 years, you must be able to assess their performance over the last 6, 7, 8 years and then be able to move them on to the next stage. The next stage is automatically TAMCC. So you can't say, I've done well in forms 3, 4, 5. I got nervous at CXC, or God knows what happened on the day, and I didn't do the math well, or I didn't do the English, and you then say it's a prerequisite. And you completely ignore all of the grades of the students coming up. Now, the principal has said to me, he certainly doesn't agree that we should continue that system. I've raised it to the Minister of Education, and I certainly expect that since we are in a position to start addressing those issues, that the TAMCC leadership will begin to look at those issues, because it's important to make sure that we get the cream of the crop coming out of the secondary schools going into the TMR Show Community College. We fundamentally also have to look at how TAMCC also partners, I think, with other international institutions to raise the level of delivery that takes place. Now, I'm going to say something that people in TAMCC may not want me to say, but I know for a fact that many times there is no one to tutor the students. That they go to school and nobody shows up. That's a fact. It's going on right now. So the question is, where's the accountability? Where is the leadership, right? You know, the students protested about the lack of lab materials, etc. So we have to be honest enough to talk about the challenges that our educational institutions face, accept that the buck stops with us, both at the TAMCC leadership, board level, the Ministry of Education, at the Office of the Prime Minister, and have the willingness to be able to start changing and improving those things. If we don't do that, we will die a slow death by 1,000 cuts. More of our students will probably not want to go to TAMCC, which means then the institution will shrink rather than grow. So I can't provide all of the answers to the student in this forum, but I certainly think the fact that he's asking that question is a question that I also certainly asked the Minister of Education and the leadership of TAMCC so that they could begin to engage with us on how we begin to transform TAMCC.
Thank you, Prime Minister. I think you find yourself in a very unique position, being a parent of a student at TAMCC and knowing the issues, because you can hear it in your response. I'm nodding because we're sharing similar concerns. Yes. So I have we'll move now to DMs, some of the messages sent on social media. I'll start with one from Lester Thomas. He said he's born and raised in Grenada, but have been living in the U.S. for the past 30 years and want to build and do business in the homeland. But the customs charges are too high. What are the concessions for people like him who want to come and reside and do business?
Well, first, Lester, there is a special concession package for returning nationals. There's a concession desk at the Ministry of Finance. I suspect you may even be able to find the concessions on the Ministry of Finance website. So I will urge you to contact the Ministry of Finance, ask to be put to the concession desk, and the staff of the concession desk will be happy to walk you through the concession packages that are available for returning nationals. I should point out, however, to Lester that, of course, the government has to generate revenue to pay for all of the services the government is required to pay. And to a large extent, the bulk of the government's revenues comes from the port and the border, because a lot of what comes into Grenada is imported. So while we generally want to pay less taxes, including myself, we always have to find the right balance between the desire for less taxes and the need for the government to be able to collect the revenue necessary to actually run the government services that all of us benefit from. Yes. But Lester, you're welcome to come back home. I think this might be as good as any time, and the concessions are waiting for you at the concessions desk.
All right, so we have another DM from Mr. Eric Edwards. Is repairing the roads on the very top of your list?
It's the one thing I go to bed with on my mind every night. It's the one thing I wake up with on my mind every morning. If for no other reason that to get home, I have to travel on the roads. To get home and to leave, I have to travel on the roads. It's, from the Ministry of Infrastructure's perspective, perhaps the single biggest priority. Okay. So I assume what he's not asking me is why the roads are in the conditions that they are in. We have some structural challenges. We've got one quarry on the island, which means we have very limited access to the underlying base coast material that is required for road construction. That's one. We are seeking to reopen the Telescope quarry. We're hoping that we can get to a position where we can have a partner to partner with Gravel and Concrete to get this done, hopefully in the next 90 to 120 days. If that happens, it gives us options in terms of actually just being able to get the material that is required. We have significant capacity constraints in the private sector in terms of contractors who can actually do the kind of major road construction and repairs. We have embarked together with the Ministry of Finance on putting out requests for expressions of interest to ask large contractors who are prepared to finance, design, build and maintain our roads. We've gotten some responses. We're in the process of evaluating and beginning the conversations with them so that we'll be able to do so. Again, there's been only one asphalt plant on the island. That asphalt plant has also been in the hands of the entity that has the sole quarry on the island. Those are facts that we met. So in order for us to be able to adequately address improving road maintenance, road reconstruction in Grenada, we are going to have to encourage the private sector to get involved in that sector so that we can actually have options to use. The government itself has no construction team that repairs or renovates the roads. Everything is contracted out. And so it is going to take a little while. Additionally, there's significant work that NOASA is doing with the pipe infrastructure throughout the length and breadth of Grenada. So we, in some instances, we simply have to wait until the pipes are laid before we could proceed to engage in major repair work. But as soon as this is done, we intend to crank it up and to be in a position to do so. So yes, it's a top priority for the Ministry of Infrastructure.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much, Prime Minister. I want to remind our viewers, remember 423-3104. You can call in also. So we are reading, yes, some of your DMs to the Prime Minister, but you also have the option of calling in and asking the Prime Minister directly your questions. So the number again, 423-3104. Prime Minister, another DM from Honeybee Plenty. As Minister of Defense, how can your government strengthen the borders with more heightened security to lessen the influx of strangers coming into the Tri-Island state?
I like that question. I'm not the Minister of Defense. There's no such there's no such title as the Minister of National Security, but I get what the should I invent a word? The DMA is asking. Yes. We have to strengthen the Coast Guard. We're an island, so obviously it means that we're surrounded by seas. We've got a lot of bays, we've got a lot of coves, we've got a lot of beaches. And the assets of the Coast Guard needs to be improved to be able to allow us to improve border patrols. But we certainly can use technology. The use of drones, both short range and long range, gives us greater coverage throughout the length and breadth of Grenada. Collaboration and the sharing of intelligence with our brothers and sisters throughout the region is an ongoing basis in St. Vincent, in Trinidad and Tobago, throughout the region. We collaborate as well with our larger neighbors and partners ranging all the way from the United States in the north to Venezuela in the south. And at the airports as well. It's not just at the seaport. We have a robust system for checks and balances. The Immigration Department does a fantastic job in that regard. So while from time to time we may have an irregular person or perhaps instances of human trafficking passing through, I feel quite confident that the Royal Grenada Police Force, and in particular the Immigration and the Coast Guard Department, in conjunction with our regional counterparts like the RSS, the Regional Security Services System, CARICOM, Impacts, all work very well, I think, to help protect us and keep us safe. And I think if you look at the records, you'd see very rare do we have criminal activity being conducted by non-Grenadians within the waters or on land in Grenada.
Okay, all right. Before we take your question, your DM, Norris, we have a phone call. Good evening, call, and thank you so much for being a part of DMs at PM.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Hello.
sir. Can you please proceed with your question? Identify yourself and proceed with your question.
My name is Leslie. My question is, as a poor man as myself that want to start up a business, what help does there is for us as Grenadians that is poor and want to start up a business?
All right. Well, thank you for the question. I'd prefer if you didn't refer to yourself as poor, because ultimately, you know, once you have the brain, once you have the desire to start the business, that in and of itself means you're rich because you have ambition. And the starting point is always ambition and passion. There are a number of different initiatives and programs that the government has had and have. And I'll just take, for example, the CES program. Recall that when we got into office, we actually gave up to $30,000 in cash to small businessmen and women, persons involved in agriculture, in fishing, in agro-processing, in tourism to start their own businesses. So I want to emphasize that. It's important to appreciate that when you want to start a business, you actually have to have an idea. So you have the Grenada Industrial Development Corporation, you have the Grenada Development Bank. Those two institutions in particular play a key role in allowing persons to be able to develop their ideas, to be able to come through those institutions to get financing, whether it's in the form of loans or grants. There are specific sectors. Let's take the creative sector, for example. Norris is a part of that. Well, in fact, all people in media and production are a part of the creative sector. Recall, we removed all duties on persons who were importing materials in the creative sectors, ranging from perhaps computers to videographic materials to printing materials to musical instruments to artists who paint and so on. All of that has been, concessions have been removed. And in addition to that, we established the Office of the Creative Affairs. That office has since established both grant funding and loan funding through the Grenada Development Bank. And grant funding means, yes, free money, effectively, money that you don't have to repay. So that if someone is a creative, let's take a painter who needed materials, canvas, paint to paint. He had an opportunity to go to the Office of the Creative Affairs, make an application and get money, not just to buy those things, but then don't have to pay duties on them to get them into Grenada. This is just an example of one area that we focus focused on. You have programs like SIPE, Climate Smart Agriculture Program, which from providing engines to fishermen to providing inputs to fishermen. You have the Youth in Agriculture Program, again, a lot of it driven by grant funding. You have several programs being run by the Ministry of Youth and Sport, Empower, the Elevate Her programs. All of these things are providing training. They're providing, in some instances, grant funding or seed money for persons to start businesses. At the constituency level, different persons are helping persons in different ways. In St. David, for example, we ran a class training women, not just young people, because sometimes there's a bias to saying it always has to be the youth. There was no age limit to training persons on how to sew. With that skill, you can create your own business. So I want to emphasize to the caller that the reference to POA is something that we should be careful with, because what we want to be able to say is we are dealing with citizens of Grenada. If you have an idea, if you have an opportunity, if you're willing to work hard, then there are across almost all aspects of the government, there are different programs that can assist you in trying to start a business. So it's important for us to understand that we have to have the skill set. We have to have sometimes the business skill, the marketing skill, the PR. So all of those things are ongoing. The Ministry of Agriculture, they've established a desk for agro-processors where persons can come in. Even at a farming level, right, you have equipment in Lasajas that you can get to help you with plowing your land. There are programs that will start shortly where support is provided for farmers in clearing the land. So we have to appreciate there's a whole range of it. You have to decide what area you want to get in, and then after you decide what area you want to get in, then you will have to decide whether it's SIPE, whether it's GDB, whether it's the concession desk, whether it's GIDC, whether it's MIT. There are a host of different areas that, whether it's social and community development, that you can go to try and get assistance to help you in your business idea and with moving your business forward.
Well, we have a DM from Lauren D. Jones. I am interested in obtaining a piece of land to build a house around the St. David's area.
Yes.
How do I get that?
But it depends. I mean, there are two ways to do it. One, you can buy it from someone privately. Let me say, the government doesn't have a lot of land. And I think that's one of the things we have to point out, particularly in St. David's. There's very little government land left. So from the perspective of whether there's an opportunity to purchase land from the government, there'd be very little options in that regard in St. David. But there are private persons who I'm sure are selling land, and if someone wants to buy land, obviously you can look at the classifieds, you can go online and see all of the real estate agents who are selling land. You could even yourself put an ad saying, I'm interested in buying a piece of land, anybody has land for sale, please contact me and I can do so. If the person is looking at land with the view of housing, I want to emphasize that there are still units in Corinth, and there are still units throughout the length and breadth of Grenada, Boucherville, St. Patrick, as part of the affordable homes that were built by the Chinese. Recall, we took our time and we retrofitted the homes by putting kitchen cabinetry in, by putting closet in, because we wanted to make sure that the homes were functional. The homes are being sold by the Housing Authority, around $50,000 for a single bedroom apartment, around $75,000 for a double bedroom. I will pause here to say this. You can't even buy a proper vehicle in Grenada for $50,000, but you can get title to a home, an apartment at $50,000 or $75,000. And we need to make sure that our people begin to invest in assets and not liabilities. So a lot of us buy a lot of vehicles, for example, the liabilities. There's no asset involved there. It's insurance, it's tires, it's brakes, it's gas, it's, God forbid, an accident, right? So it's liabilities from the time you get it. The value depreciates from the time you get it. You're almost guaranteed that if you buy a home, it appreciates. Even sometimes when you're not maintaining it, right? And especially if it's located in a strategic area. So I'm not so sure if the caller is essentially saying, ultimately, I want to be in a position where I can get a home, or whether they're looking for land to do a business. They didn't specify. But as I said, there's very little land from the government, certainly in the St. David's area, that the government owns. Almost all of it is in private hands.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Prime Minister. We have another call online. Good evening, caller, and thank you so much for being a part of DMs with PM.
Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to the Prime Minister, Mr. Deacon Mitchell. And good afternoon to the gentleman who's also hosted the program with you. My name is Vicky, Mr. Prime Minister, a Grenadian living in Canada. And I have two quick questions for you. One, my father has been living on a piece of squat land for almost 40 years. And a few years ago, the previous government has survey the property for him, and he said that he paid taxes only one time, and every time he go to the ministry to see how he can make arrangements to pay for the land, they keep telling him, come back, and me, I look at Grenada News as often as I can, and congratulations to you and your government for the initiative you took recently to give the people documents for their land. However, my dad is waiting a very long time to have such a gift, to have documents for the property, I would say. I hope that he can get some quick assistance and this problem could be solved. The next question is, we as people, Grenadians who live abroad, sometimes we have to make communication back home to some ministries. And me personally, my telephone bill does be sky high because at this moment the government has no WhatsApp number. Is it possible that the government can implement such so that could ease up the burden, how much we pay for phone bills for long distance calls back to our country?
Well, thank you very much for the second suggestion. It's actually quite a good idea, and that's why we're having programs like that, so we can get suggestions from the public. I think this is something that the government should certainly be able to do, either at ministry levels or even parliamentary offices, so that there is a WhatsApp number that persons can reach us on. So I will certainly note that. In relation to your first comment, you didn't say where your dad lives or which parish he lives in. There are land regularization officers going throughout the length and breadth of Grenada. So depending on the parish that he is from, he should be able to make contact with the land regularization officers, or you can ask him to go into the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands. Depending on the parish that he's from, they will be able to get him in contact with the land regularization officer. They will then take the information from him, and then they will walk him through the process. I just want to clarify, though, the persons who receive titles, they're not gifts in that sense. These are persons first who actually paid for their lands, but were not given title. In the past, the government would have given persons a letter, a lot, with a price and a period over which they will pay. In some instances, persons would have completed that payment, but no title was given to them. So stage one of the land regularization process was to ensure that for persons who actually paid for the lands that were given to them over the period of time that was allotted to them, that they now have the title. Stage two, and there are lots of people. We only, in a sense, started in St. George's, but throughout the length and breadth of Grenada, we will do that. After we've completed that process, the next process then is to look at persons, perhaps like your dad, who may not have been authorized because you used the word squatting, but who can establish that they've been on the land for more than 10 years. In those circumstances, we will then ensure that if there is no dispute, that they can establish they've been on the land for more than 10 years. If the surveys already exist, no need for a survey, but if it needs to be surveyed, it will then be surveyed, and then an agreement will be reached as to the payment for the land so that they can then actually get title to the land. So I want to make it clear, the land regularization process is not the government gifting lands to persons, because the government doesn't have land that it can gift to persons, and obviously if it did so, it would mean it'd have to give land to all Grenadians, which is not possible. So in the case of your dad, you said he's been there for over 40 years. If that's the case, he can go into the Ministry of Agriculture. He can ask for the land regularization team, and there are different teams from different parishes, and based on that, I'm sure they will be able to attend to it.
All right, we have another caller on the line. Welcome, caller. Welcome to DM with the PM. Sorry.
Thank you.
Waiting for your contribution.
I have a problem with the land. I am on the land of the island. I got people under the energy administration, and he went to Parliament, I think, with the people. And
caller, could you please turn down your background?
I have no light in the background.
It's okay, I'm hearing you. Yeah.
All right.
Yes. And I went in St. George's in the government garden to get the people for the land. And when I reached home and I opened the paper, they said that I have to pay $1,534 every year. But if I fail to pay that money at the end of the year, for example, if I pay $1,540, there's an interest of $720 on the land. I am a single parent with 6 kids unemployed. So this is causing a really big problem, and where it puts me, I'm down from Northern Springs. And it's the area developed now, with a problem like the neighbors complaining about the house I'm living in. So I'm just looking for a little help. I'm always going around, and at the end of the day, it feels like it's nothing coming out of it because everybody keeps telling me to come back. So I'm just looking for advice from the Prime Minister.
All right. Well, thank you. I think the first thing is you indicated you're unemployed. So I think the first issue you're going to have to address is how you get an opportunity to gain an employment. I'm not sure what your skill set is, nor how old you are. But depending on that, if you don't have any particular skill that would allow you to be employed quickly, it means then some training is going to have to be done. There are various programs being run by the Ministry of Youth and Sport as well as Social and Community Development. So I assume you're in the Dunfermline area. If that's the case, I would recommend that you come in to the Ministry of Housing, Social and Community Development or the Ministry of Youth and Sport. You can speak to an officer there to see what programs are available to assist you with the necessary training that can help you to get employment. Because if you're not employed, you're not going to be able to pay for the land. It's as simple as that. If you're not employed, you are not going to be able to pay rent for a mortgage. And more crucially, if you're not employed, you're not going to be able to take care of your 6 children. And while there are various programs that allow for assistance, particularly for children, whether it's school uniforms, whether it's books, whether it's a free schools program, ultimately, as an adult, if you have children, you have to put yourself in a position where you can take care of them children. And that means getting employment. And to get employment, you have to have a skill, you have to have a talent, or you have to become self-employed. There's just no way in which it will be sustainable, because whatever assistance the government gives you is going to be, I will use the word transactional. It will be a one-off type assistance, and you have to be able to care for yourself ultimately and for the kids. So that means getting employment. So I'm saying I'm not so sure, obviously, as to what skills you have or you don't have, but we can certainly use the opportunity to see how we could help with some training, or perhaps just helping you going about how you find the necessary employment that you need. I suspect it will be a challenge because you have 6 kids, depending on their age. Hopefully they're all in school, so that at least, and you may have some older and younger ones, hopefully the older ones can help look after the younger ones. But the bottom line is we're going to have to be in a position to get you employment so that you can begin to take care of yourself, begin to take care of the kids, and crucially pay for the land, because the land is obviously an asset.
Okay. Thank you, caller. We have our other caller on the line. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. Good afternoon. Welcome to DM with the PM.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes. I am a resident calling. So I am someone calling from the parish of St. Mark's. So basically from the village Duquesne. And in Duquesne, there's this hill known as Cow Hill, right?
Go ahead.
And in Cow Hill, well, there has been, on top of Cow Hill to be exact, there's been this major issue with this residents trying to get a road. And it's been quite an issue for such a very long time. There has been approval of the layout and whatever it is that should be taken place. The road was already marked. However, there has been no start, no progress of anything. There was even when residents came together for them to go ahead and mention, work together for them to start clearing up the area in which the road was supposed to happen, clear down trees, pick up garbage, did everything that they can in their power to try to get, the representative of our parish to see that we, the residents, need a road. And with that, it's very tiring, it's very troublesome, because persons are falling, people are being late to school in case you have an exam. I have a grandmother, she basically won't go down the hill because she's scared to go down the hill in case she falls. There's stones and things. There are pregnant women on top of here who also have such a challenge, because why is it that persons are not free enough to go ahead and do what is it they ought to do? You should be able to come up on your hill comfortably in the night. I personally believe that.
So,
and as well as,
Sorry, you said the name of the area is Cow Hill?
Yes, so the
Okay.
area is known as Cow Hill.
Okay, so I will make a note of that. We will have to ask the team from the Ministry of Infrastructure or the roads office in on the Western Division to visit the area. And after they visit the area, I will then ask for a report, and then we can see whether or not it could be done within this year, or whether it is something that could be done in the following year. I'm not going to promise you that it will happen now, because obviously they have to go. We'll have to check to see. You've indicated that it seems as if the road was measured previously and so on. We will check to see if we have records of that.
Okay.
But I give you the commitment that we will certainly send a team from the Western Roads Division to come have a look at it. And then after that, we'll be able to assess and get back to you as to whether or not it is something that we'll be able to do in this calendar year, or whether we can plan for in the first half of next year. If you're prepared to give me your name and number, we can take it, so then at least I know I have a resident that we can contact with. Or you can WhatsApp us your name and number, and that way we'll be able to follow up with you on it. Yes?
Okay, yes, that is very much appreciated, and I am very thankful that you took my statement into consideration. I will email you, well, not email you, I will message you the number, the name, and other necessary stuff.
All right, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, caller. And to all the callers, we did say that it was going to be an exciting 1 hour. When you're having fun, it really do fly by. PM, it is already 7 o'clock on the dot. We started at 6, and we did say that it was going to be exciting. Information sharing, and whenever you're having fun, time always fly by. But this is not the last. Remember, we have only just started. This is the first of many more to come. So what we are going to do now, we're going to allow Prime Minister to give you an opportunity to just share some closing words. The first experience, I think, is great.
No, it's I'm happy to be here, and I think the call from St. Mark is a perfect example of why we're doing this. I've never heard of Cow Hill, so it looks like it's going to be a new street that I'm going to learn soon. So it's an opportunity for you to learn what's going on in the community, to learn new places, new villages that you may not have been to before. So to the residents of Cow Hill, I'd say look out for me, and look out for other members of the government as we come to visit to look at what are the issues that needs addressing, and hopefully we'd be in a position to address it sooner rather than later. I want to thank all of the viewers, listeners, callers, those who are participating. As I said, this is about interactive participation of the citizens in helping us to shape and make decisions. We got a good recommendation about the WhatsApp number, so that for persons perhaps both in and out of Grenada, they could minimize the cost associated with calling government ministries and so on. On the land regularization, again, it's probably a good opportunity for the Ministry of Agriculture and their team to do some more outreach, to do some more education about the stages of the land regularization, what needs to be done, where you can find the land regularization officers, what phase they're going through, when will they be in a village or community next to you. So I look forward to the next episode, and I would certainly say thank you to all of you who've made this initial debut a success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Norris, any parting words?
Well, there's a question I wanted to ask. I have a question too. So from Michelson, he texts me. He wants to know what plans the government has to rehabilitate alcohol people who is on drugs and stuff like that. He don't want to hear about Cajona Home. He wants to hear about something that the government is working on. Yeah.
Right. So no, the Ministry of Mental Health is working on plans to build a rehabilitation center in Mergo. That is ongoing, and the Minister for Mental Health will be in a better position to give the specific details as to where we are. The Carlton Home site, that was a site that previously was used. The site, as you may be aware, is essentially been destroyed. And I think we think strategically it's located very close to the main road, very close to supermarkets within walking distance. And if you're dealing with substance abuse and substance addiction, we certainly think that Mergo offers a more strategic, idyllic location for the kind of reformation and change that you are doing. But this is something we are deeply committed to. But I would say that the final point on alcoholism in particular, it is something that as a society we need to come to grips with. Right? There is rampant use of alcohol, abuse of it. There's advertising of hard liquor at prime time on TV. So we have to look at our own behaviors to see how we are contributing to some of the challenges that we then have to try and fix by spending money to do things like build rehabilitation homes and so on. All right.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister, again, for being here today with us, fielding the questions. We want to encourage people to be here next Tuesday. Prime Minister will be here again to field your questions, answer them, be here. But I think most important is taking time away from your very busy schedule to give us more than an hour, because you have to be here before.
Yes.
And then, of course, we're already past the hour, being here so that we can share this very interesting, what we consider to be intimate moment with the citizenry on their concerns, suggestions, and questions. And I think it seemed as though people were waiting for this opportunity. First program, and look at the amount that we have already. By next week, we continue with this. Prime Minister, again, thank you to you and your team, and we look forward to the next episode. So that's where we conclude for today. We want to say thank you to all our callers, the diaspora, here at home, listen to us on the radios. Remember, tune in again next week, Tuesday, 6 o'clock, from 6 to 7. It's our prime time hour, yes? When you get an opportunity to hear from the Prime Minister, ask your questions, share your suggestions, your concerns, it is that opportunity to speak to him directly, right? So this is where we conclude for today. I am your host, Ocelyn Crosby, and my co-host, Norris Francois. Until next time, we say, please remember, this is no hearsay. You're getting it straight from the source, DM with the PM, every Tuesday, 6 to 7 p.m.